Hi, it's Lauren. Welcome back to my craft room. Happy new month. I can't believe it's April already. I'm going to be kicking off the month today with an interactive card. I'm going to be featuring Lawn Fawn's Ahoy Matey stamps as my images for this interactive card. I've already stamped, colored, and die cut them out to save some time in today's video. I have also die cut my platform pop-up. I did 2 of the large, 3 of the tees, and 3 of the little hill die cuts out of some cream colored cardstock. And then I also have the add-on, and I've die cut the background out of some blue cardstock, the 2 little clouds out of white, the sun out of yellow, and I also cut another piece of the background, but then used one of my stitched wave borders to cut out an ocean kind of border that will be on the bottom of my background. And then I've also die cut out the palm trees from the Hammock and Trees Lawn Cut set. So everything is ready to go. I'm basically just going to show you how I have colored my platform pieces in my background and then the assembly of this card. So for my little island that I'm making, like I said, I die cut my pieces out of some cream colored cardstock, and I'm using Distress Oxide in tea dye to create a sandy beach island. So I'm going to be distressing the part that wraps around. So this is like the scalloped edge of the card, and then the top of my platform piece where that little slot is on the left. So I'm using mint tape to only color and splatter where I need my ink to go. That way I don't waste ink or spend time coloring in areas that I don't need to color. So taping off these areas really is not necessary because those 2 pieces aren't really seen. It's the inside and bottom of the platform. But again, I just use it as guides to not ink where I don't need to. And then I'm going to take some Wild Honey Distress ink, and I added some water, and I'm using this color to splatter on my sand, again trying to create a little sandy beach for my little island card. Once I'm happy with that splatter, I'm also going to grab some white ink and I'm going to splatter that onto my sand as well, just trying to create light and dark splatters against that tea dye and that cream cardstock. I'm going to peel off my mint tape and set that aside to dry, and I repeated this same process on the second platform die cut. I also did this on the 3 little hill pieces that you'll see later when we're assembling. So again, I'm creating a little island. Next, we're going to jump over to our greens. I totally forgot to show this earlier, but I also die cut 2 of the Slimline Tropical Leaves borders, and I'm using Lucky Clover Distress Oxide to darken up those borders as well as the center of my palm trees. And then I'm going to grab the same Lucky Clover color, but in a distress ink, and I'm going to add water and splatter onto those. I did not splatter any white onto these pieces because I wanted them to be dark. There really isn't any like reflecting of light or light tones to my leaves, so I just went with a green splatter. Next, for my water, I have added Distress Oxide in Mermaid Lagoon, and because oxide sits more on top of the paper, it actually kind of lightened it up a little, which I think looks really pretty. And then I grabbed Mermaid Lagoon in the Distress ink as well, and again adding splatter. So added water, grabbed my brush, and I'm adding splatter to this piece. And then I will also bring in some white because the water is reflecting the sunlight, and I like that dark and light tones kind of like in my sand. For my background, this is my sky. It's already a very pretty blue, so I'm just going to grab Distress ink in Tumbled Glass and Salty Ocean, add water to my little ink splats, and then I will grab a paintbrush and splatter that on. So again, starting with my lighter color Tumbled Glass, and then I bring in Salty Ocean for some darker splatter. I also brought in some liquid Stardust from Lawn Fawn, and then again that white ink. So it seems like a lot in this background, but I think it looks so pretty behind all of our images once I'm done assembling the card. For my palm trees, the trunks, because they're so tiny, I decided just to add some dimension using my alcohol markers. So I grabbed my EB2 and my EB1, and I'm just adding some subtle color to the edges of my palm trees. And I will do this on both pieces, but I'm only going to show one here in the video because it's the same thing twice. So now that we are finally done adding all of the color to our die cut pieces, we can start with the assembly. I'm going to grab one of my platform pieces, and I'm just using my little scoring tool to help me fold on all of those creases, bending all the pieces inwards like recommended from Lawn Fawn. And then I will grab my 1/4 inch adhesive from scrapbook.com and we'll start gluing together this first half of our platform. I'm going to grab my T as well, make sure I have that scored, and then adding that 1/4 inch tape to the little flap on the T, as well as the flap on the inside of the platform die cut. Next, we're going to take that T adhesive side down and slide it through the slot, and then I'm going to peel off that backing of my adhesive, and then I'm going to fold the first flap and then adhere my T down, making sure that that T is right up against that platform top. And then I'll peel off the release tape from the flap and then stair step it closed to adhere that flap to the scalloped piece. So I hope that made sense. I will link the Lawn Fawn video down below where Kelly Marie goes into a lot more detail of how this die functions and how it puts together, but I really recommend this if you're nervous for interactive cards. This is a really intuitive and easy die set. I just did this once and felt really confident, where some of my other dies takes me a couple times to feel good about it. So I hope that you try out this platform die. It's really awesome. So both sides of my platform are complete. I'm adding adhesive to the side flaps of those two platform pieces. I've trimmed off the little flap of my third T and added adhesive to the center part. I don't have it on the top of the T, just that middle base part. I centered my platform using my grid mat and adhered that T so that way it would be the center of the platform, making sure that it looks similar to the other T's, right? So that little 1/8 strip is sitting above the top part of the platform. And then I added adhesive to the center portion of the other side of my platform. I peeled off the release paper from one of my flaps and I'm adhering everything together. Peeled off the release paper for the center platform and glued those pieces together. And then finally that last little flap, peeling off that release paper and gluing that side together. So now all of my pieces are adhered together. They are nice and secure, using my little scoring tool anytime I want to make sure it is really varnished down and it looks good. So now I'm going to work on adding my 3 little hills. So these were those pieces I was mentioning earlier. I colored them the same way as I did my platform pieces. And I'm adding some 1/8 of an inch strip adhesive this time to the bottom backs of all 3 of those little hills. I peel off the release paper and I'm adhering them to each of the T's inside the platform, making sure to face them all the same way. So now my platform has all 3 little hills to create my scene on my little island. Next, I'm going to add my tropical leaves. Now this leaf border doesn't go all the way around. There's just a little bit on the back where I cut a piece of my second border to hide and make it look continuous all the way around. I'm adding some adhesive to the bottom part of my border, and I definitely would recommend trimming this and only doing half of the platform at a time. I did notice that the far edges of my little hexagon here, the leaves get a little taut and they're fine. They're not ripping. It's totally okay. But I think if you want to make sure that this piece of paper doesn't get too stretched on the edges, you'll see here in a minute what I'm saying. I would recommend trimming right here instead of continuing all the way around. So you'd only cover the front 3 sides and then adhere another piece to the back 3 sides. So I secured everything down. I'm going to push my platform closed, and you can see right there my leaves on the edges of these side pieces. They're struggling a little bit, but it's okay because this card is going to be staying in platform mode most of the time. It won't be in the closed position very much, so I'm not worried about it. I don't think it will rip, but I definitely recommend, if you're worried about that, if you're mailing a card, this platform card in the mail, I would recommend maybe trimming it just to avoid any type of tension in those two little side pieces of the leaves. So to close that gap, I measured how many leaves I needed to trim off my second border piece, and I'm just repeating that process, adding some adhesive to my border, and then I will adhere that to the back side. And it looks pretty good. I feel like you can't really tell that it's a secondary piece. It's in the back anyway. No one's really going to see it. So I think it looks good for just covering up that little gap. Now that the base of my island is put together, I'm going to work on the background piece. So I have my blue, pretty splattery sky and my ocean piece, and I did die cut this ocean piece, like I said, using that background die so it matched the same width. And to avoid any type of buckling or any issues like I have with my leaf border, I decided to break up my adhesive a bit on the background here. So lining that 1/8 of an inch adhesive tape and just breaking the tape where the score lines are. And then I peeled off the release paper a little early. I wanted to glue on my ocean first, but that's okay. So in order to avoid, again, issues with bending paper that are the same width and trying to keep in the same spot, there will be a little bit of buckling. So I'm just adding some adhesive to the edges of my ocean piece. So when it is folded in, when the platform is popped up, my ocean piece is gonna buckle a little, but it actually looks kind of cool in my opinion, because it looks like the ocean is kind of coming up off of the background piece. So once I have the ocean adhered on those edges to the blue sky background, I am pressing that piece inside of my island platform. So you can see when I tilt it that right there when I touched it, I guess you can see as well, my ocean isn't adhered all the way to my blue background right there, but it allows freedom in the movement of the platform die without me worrying about any paper ripping or buckling. So I think it worked out really nicely. Now my platform is finally put together and I can move forward with adding my little fun pieces to my island. I'm starting with my palm trees. I glued the tree trunk behind the green leaves and then glued my little coconuts to the inside of my tree. Something that I really focus on when I am seam building is perspective and making sure that larger items are in the back because they're generally going to be smaller. Like this pirate ship is supposed to be huge, but because it's so small, I need to put it in the furthest back based on perspective because it looks smaller when it's further away. So I use some thin foam squares to adhere that to my blue background, trying to layer it so it looks like it's actually moving in the ocean. Next, I'm going to take my palm trees because they are taller than my stamped images, but not tall enough compared to what they would be like in real life, I guess you could say. So those are going to go on the next layer. So they are going on the furthest hill in my platform pieces. So I'm adding some wet glue to the bottom of my palm trees and then using my little clips to help keep those in place while the glue dries a little. And because it's wet glue, I can kind of maneuver them and place them where I want them to be on my background. And I'm really happy with how they're layered. You can see the ship when you're looking through the trees. I think it looks really cute. And now that I have my trees in place, I'm going to place my sun and my clouds onto my background. Now, I wasn't really sure the overall dimensions of this card. It is, I believe, 5 by 5.5, if I remember correctly. So I will have to make an envelope for this card. But honestly, it's for my husband's birthday, which is today at the time this video goes live. So I think I'm just going to give it to him in a platform position anyway. So it doesn't really matter about the envelope size. But because of that, I can stick my sun a little bit off the edge on the top and my clouds a little bit off the edge on the left and right, just really expanding that scene off of that blue background. With my background done, I'm going to work on the foreground now. So using my cute little stamped images, I have my treasure chest and my little pirate guy and girl as well as their parrot. So I'm going to add my treasure chest to the middle hill, and I'm gluing that down with wet glue again, securing that to the right side, and then I will glue the little girl to that same middle platform, and this time to the left, making some space in the middle. I don't want them too close together because I want to make sure that you can see them behind what is going to go on the front hill. And again, using my little clips if I need to make sure that that glue has a chance to dry before I accidentally bump it and move my little characters out of the way. I'm going to glue my little parrot to sit on the little pirate guy's hand, and then I will add glue to his feet and add him to the front hill on my platform. A little off-centered so you can still see that pirate ship in the background. Again, using my little clips just to give that glue a chance to dry before I accidentally bump something and it moves. So now my little scene and my island is done, but I wanted to add a sentiment. I kind of went back and forth. It doesn't really need a sentiment, but I also really love adding sentiment. So we're going to add a little square die cut from the platform add-on, and I die cut it in some white cardstock, and we're going to stamp the sentiment "Happy Birthday Matey." But because my happy birthday is a bit big, I'm going to do some masking. So I just grabbed a little post-it note and I'm blocking the word birthday to stamp happy, and I'm going to stamp that to the top center of my white cardstock piece, and then I'll repeat that same process, but this time on the birthday side of the sentiment. Add my little comma, add the word matey, and my exclamation point to have my sentiment. And then I'll just grab my wet glue, add some glue to the back of this cardstock piece, and this is going to adhere to the back side of my background. So I'm going to go ahead and close my platform and glue that to the back, and now I can sign my name or put a little happy face. Not a lot of room to sign my name, but the essence of my sentiment and a space to sign are there. So here is a final look at the platform as well as some photos that I have. I absolutely love how this turned out. I love my little island. I just think it's so cute. I definitely can see myself making this card again, or switching it up maybe with a different scene on an island. I just love the idea of this card as an island. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!